just a question of not knowing what to do. I know that's right and wrong since I've been 10.
Coming up, we launch a new series, Torchbearers, and our very first Torchbearer is Tony Award winner, author, and advocate, Ali Stroker. I'm Patrick Pacheco. Welcome to Theater All the Moving Parts. Today we launch a new series, Torchbearers, celebrating theater luminaries that are lighting the path toward Broadway's future. Our first Torchbearer is the extraordinary Ali Stroker.
And the Tony Award goes to Ali Stroker!
Thank you. This award is for every kid who is watching tonight who has a disability, who has a limitation or a challenge, who has been waiting to see themselves represented in this arena. You are.
Ali is a barrier breaker, making history as the first actor in a wheelchair to appear on Broadway, when she made her debut in the 2016 revival Spring Awakening, and later became the first actor in a wheelchair to win a Tony Award for her unforgettable performance as Adu Annie in Daniel Fisher's bold revival of Oklahoma. She has also written young adult and children's books, debuted a new one-woman show this summer, and now, as a new mom, she credits motherhood with deepening her artistry in ways she never imagined. Next month, Ali will be honored with Theater Development Fund's inaugural Christina Trevino Advocate Award, which recognizes her impact on accessibility and inclusion in the arts. This new award is a fitting tribute to Ali, who has expanded with resilience and grace. What's possible on stage and off.
A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
Welcome, Ali, to Theater All the Moving Parts. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
There are so many moving parts to your career. Actor, author, advocate, educator, and self-described golden retriever. Do you want to explain that last description?
Yes, I've always been a really outgoing extrovert, and I love people. I get my energy from being with other people. So I just always say I'm kind of the golden retriever of the family. We don't have a dog, we have a cat, but yeah, I just love people.
Audiences get to get a glimpse into that golden retriever in your new cabaret act, which takes the audience from 7-year-old Allison McKenzie singing Maybe from Annie in New Jersey, to Tony Award-winning success in the revival of Oklahoma, to Marriage and Motherhood. What made you want to put it all down in a cabaret act?
I have always felt like it was important to have my own show. Being an actor with a disability has put me in a position to not always be able to get cast. And so having my own show makes me feel like I can perform anytime I want, and I am in the driver's seat.
And what was the main theme that you wanted people to take away from at the end of that show?
I think that I want people to leave the show feeling like they have enjoyed themselves and they're inspired, but also that they are able to take on their own challenges in their own life. And I live by this motto of turning your limitations into opportunities. That's been really successful in my life. And growing up in a wheelchair, people see your limitations, right? They're like, you can't do this, she can't do that, she won't be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. And I got really lucky because I was raised by two people my mom and my dad, who were not interested in that philosophy of looking at your limitations. Instead, we just looked at all the things that I could do. And a huge part of my childhood was musical theater and singing and acting and being on stage, because those were things that I could do.
There was a great eureka moment when you first sang A Baby from Annie, and there was a transformation. People stopped looking at you as a girl in a wheelchair and started looking at your talent. Describe that moment and what it meant to you.
That moment changed my life, because being young and in a wheelchair, you know, people, I call it like a million eyes. You feel people staring at you. You feel like, all right, I'm different and the world sees me differently and they want to get a look. And I didn't like that feeling, Patrick. It just made me feel like I didn't have any control. And being on stage, everyone was looking at me, but it was because I was the star or I was singing. And it felt like I was empowered in that moment, that I could hold an audience in the palm of my hand and entertain them and make them smile and maybe even change their mind about what having a disability looks like and what it can mean.
You mentioned a word that cuts both ways for you, and that was inspired. You want people to be inspired, and people sometimes call you an inspiration, aptly and rightly. But it cuts both ways for you. Why?
Absolutely. I think that inspiration and disability have a complicated relationship, because at times disability has been used for inspiration to make people feel more comfortable about disability. It's like it creates space from somebody who is able-bodied, that like, oh, wow, look at them living a life that I could never live. And I don't like that as much, because again, it creates that separation. What I feel in the world is most kids are raised to not stare, don't point, and don't ask about somebody's disability. And that creates a lot of awkwardness culturally about disability, right? Because there's something inside of us that says, well, don't say anything about it, don't look at it. But the truth is, living with a disability, it's just a part of my everyday life. And so I don't mind engaging with people about my disability, or when kids have questions. Of course they would have questions. It's something different, right? So the labeling disability inspirational can be complicated, because I think it separates us.
I think your father boiled it down to a formula, wasn't it?
Yes.
E plus R equals O.
Oh,
right?
yes, yes, Patrick, yes. So my dad is a coach, and
Jim.
yes, and my dad speaks all over the country and the world, and he talks about this equation, which is E plus R equals O. The events of our life plus the response equals the outcome. A lot of times we don't have control over the events in our life, but we have 100% control over our response, which means we do have some control over the outcome. And this is something I have to practice all the time, but it was the way in which our family came through this trauma and this accident when I was young. I was in a car accident with my mom and my brother. And
At the age of 2.
Yeah, I was 2, and I had a spinal cord injury. My brother had a traumatic brain injury, and my mom had some minor injuries. But of course, like, you know, she carries so much of the emotional trauma of that experience. And I think what was so productive for all of us was this mentality that this bad thing happened, but we do have control over how we respond to it. And my parents led that with positivity and enthusiasm and energy and activities.
What's amazing is that you mentioned, and quite a lot, the word control. And you chose a profession in which you have no control
Yeah,
most of the time, right?
Exactly.
To begin with, much less when you're a person with disabilities. You weren't about to let that stop you. And I suppose the first time you came into your role as educator as well as actor was when you were at Tisch and you were majoring in music and drama and dance. And I suppose the teachers kind of looked at you and thought, dance. And you had to educate them about that, didn't you?
100%. I'll never forget the first week of school. I sat down with all the heads of the department, you know, voice, acting, and dance at the musical theater program. And they said, listen, Allie, we're really excited to have you, but we're not sure if this is going to work out because we're not comfortable with you taking dance class. And I remember in that moment, sort of my heart dropping because I was like, wait a minute, you're not even going to give me a chance? But then realizing, oh, they don't get it. They don't get me yet, and they don't trust me yet. So this was the beginning of my education in what it was going to be like to be in this industry. After a few weeks, became friendly with the dance teachers and started to ask, okay, can I do this part of class? Would that be okay? I'll be on the side and I won't get in anyone's way. I won't make anyone uncomfortable. All the things that I sensed they were afraid of. And it was amazing because what ended up happening was I started to take the dance class and something happened in the room. Everyone else started to do better and started to loosen up. Because the truth is, dance is not a, you know, in many professional dance settings, right? Like you're trying to create specific pictures and movements, and it's supposed to be by the book. But in an educational setting, dance is about expression. Dance is about pushing your limits. It's about finding your body and your balance. And that was perfect for me. You know, I'm in a chair, but like I move all day long. I just have a different physical vocabulary than you. And so I had to learn how to translate those dance classes. And I use this word a lot in my work because most of the time I am in able-bodied settings. And so I know how to translate movement and dance for my body, to like for my wheelchair. And that was such a beneficial part of my education because now I have to do that in my professional life.
You described your wheelchair as part of your skin, and that when people wanted to carry you onto a stage, you said, no, I want to make my entrance with my skin.
Yeah.
Talk about how important that was.
Talking about prior to that, so once I made my Broadway debut in 2015, it was really important to me that I began to set a boundary that I would only perform in accessible spaces, that I no longer wanted to be carried onto stages, that I wanted to enter in my power, in my body, in my skin. And that was really important to me also as an advocate, because if I didn't draw the line, who would? If I was getting bigger and bigger opportunities and not asking for the accommodations that I needed, then what about all the people behind me who were coming up with disabilities? Like something, like a standard needed to be set.
Right.
And I have gotten out of my chair in shows, in Spring Awakening, in Oklahoma, and people have carried me, you know, in scenes on stage. But I mean, when I make my entrance, I want to do it in my body, you know, and that is, that's a really important part of my work.
Getting back to dance and the rhythms within you and the development of those rhythms within you, I found it fascinating and wondered if the fact that you had to manipulate in a wheelchair through the streets of New York taught you more about how you can dance.
It's a great point, Patrick. So like I have lived in New York City for, I think it was 15 years. That physical movement that I had to find, and the strength and the precision of getting around this city definitely taught me a lot about my physical vocabulary and movement. Because it was really hard. The city is, I mean, difficult for anybody to navigate, but for somebody in a chair. And, you know, I was here before, you know, the apps and before Uber and things like that, where you couldn't just call a car. So I was out in the street trying to hail cabs in the rain, you know, and there was a lot of frustration in it too, that like people aren't stopping to help me, people aren't stopping to give me a ride. What do I do? How do I get around? And there would be days that I was just doing it, you know, manpower, just like pushing myself blocks and blocks and blocks. But at the end of it, it always made me feel like if I can do New York, I can do anything. And so I think I kind of held on to that living here and navigating this city makes me feel like I can take on my biggest dreams.
Did it make the golden retriever in you snarl?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I have to say, I think it definitely gave me a toughness, a physical toughness. There was something so empowering in it for me. And I have like taken spills out of my chair in New York, and I'll tell you what, I was never on the ground for more than like 3 seconds. New Yorkers just come right over, scoop me up, put me back in my chair. I'd be like, thank you. And they're like, you got this, no problem. Are you okay?
Well, because you've just described what makes an actor great, and that is both strength and vulnerability that you have to have. And
Yeah.
you've had a life's lesson of it so far.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
sure. Your platform was the Glee Project. Again, you were both educator and learner in terms of that.
Yeah.
What was important about the Glee Project, the fact that you came in second runner-up in that, and that it gave you a platform in order to educate?
I wanted to be on Glee the moment I saw the show. And in fact, I moved to LA after I graduated from NYU to audition and try to get on Glee, because that's where they filmed it. And I was like, I need to be there. And I got out there and I auditioned for the casting office, and they put me on tape, and I didn't hear back from them for 3 years. And it wasn't until I saw the Glee Project being advertised on Facebook at the time that I was like, I'll make a tape. And I got cast on the show.
Just not quite as popular as me.
You're such a great source of light and optimism. We love that about you.
This show has changed my life, and it has been a fight to try to figure out how to make this work in my situation. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. You did great. Thank you.
And the Glee Project was a reality TV show where you
Right.
competed for a role on Glee.
Right.
And at first I was hesitant about the opportunity because I was like, I am an actor, I'm a trained actress. I don't want to be on a reality TV show, right? I had some ego around it. And then I realized, oh, this is the greatest opportunity in the world for me, because I get to tell my story. And I think that was part of my journey breaking into the business. People were curious, like, what's with the chair? Why is she in a wheelchair? Is she always in a wheelchair? How long has she been in a chair? So I got to tell my story kind of on my terms.
And you were cast in an episode of Glee in which you had a flirtation with Artie, I think it is, right?
Yes.
Miss Pillsbury didn't tell you I was in a wheelchair, did she?
Obviously not, because I don't date losers in chairs.
But you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I'm also blonde, captain of the cheerleaders at my high school, and I've got this going on.
One of the things you also introduced in that particular episode was a wheelchair-bound woman who was full woman, sexy, sensual, sexually active, which is often the elephant in the room when it comes to the disabled, and something that you were able to explode as your very sexy Adu Annie in the revival of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I remember growing up and being so scared and afraid that I would never have a relationship, because I really didn't see it represented. I never saw relationships with people with disabilities. And this was something that I lived with, this fear So then when I got, into my teens and started dating, and then in college and started dating and exploring, like, it was so important to me that I was able to portray those kinds of characters that were in relationships, that were sexy, that had, intimate relationships on stage, because I really needed that representation when I was a kid. So that was like one of my dreams and one of my goals. And so when I got the chance to play Ado Annie, it was like my version of what that looks like for me. My boyfriend, now husband at the time, came to see one of the first previews.
David Perlow.
David, yes. And he's a director and an acting coach. And I was like, do you have any notes for me? Because it's like you get that in a relationship like that. And he said, I just have one thing to share, take it or leave it, but really let the audience look at you. And it immediately connected me to Ado Annie, because I think on stage you're aware that people are looking at you, but when you really allow people to look at you, something changes in your sensuality. And it was the best note ever, because the truth was, in many ways, I had spent a lot of my life being self-conscious of my legs and my body maybe not looking as normal as what I saw the world wanted from a woman. And then to really lean into this character, to be like, no, look at me. Like, I'm the hottest thing up here. And that helped me so much with that role and in my life. It was like this new kind of confidence that I was able to tap into.
You had met David, at Tisch, and then became reacquainted with him when you did Spring Awakening and then Oklahoma, obviously. Yeah. What did David do right in the dating?
Well, what I immediately was drawn to was David was so smart, and he was really smart intellectually and emotionally. And so as I began to share things about myself, he just received everything as if it was never like uncomfortable or weird or like something he couldn't handle. He just felt like he was not only like interested in me and curious about me, but like he was into all of it. Like, he loved the way that I was, and he loved my disability. There was no part of it that he was like afraid of. And I think that that is your biggest fear, having a disability, is that when you're dating, that someone might be, I think that is the greatest fear, of being scary to someone. And David not only made me feel the opposite, but articulated the opposite. That like, this wasn't too much. This wasn't scary. This was the most amazing thing he had ever like been exposed to. So that really changed my life, because when you are growing up with a disability, you feel like that is the thing that people see. And to go through a period of your life where you don't want that to be the first thing that people see, and then reach a point where someone says, I see it and I am in love with it, makes you feel like, oh, I can be in love with this too. This is not just something that's going to hold me back in this part of my life.
We have to wrap up, but I want to talk a little bit about the Cabaret Act.
Yes.
Is there a song from the Cabaret Act that is an anthem of your life?
Well, a lot of these songs are so special to me, and that's what's fun about creating your own work, is you can do whatever you want. You can sing whatever you want. But a song that I love to sing is Somewhere That's Green. It reminds me of the dreamer in me.
That's from Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes, yes. It's a role that I would love to play one day. And Audrey has so much hope for her future. And I think that is it's a way that I would describe myself as a dreamer and someone who has hope in everything, in other people, in my own life, in my son's life, for my community, for the disabled community. I have so much hope that things are going to continue to improve. And I think we need that right now in the world.
Well, Allie, hope is a wonderful note to end on. And also, thank you for sharing not only the golden retriever, but the lion, the lion with us. You've been a delight.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I've loved this.
We're not quite done yet. When we come back, Allie Stroker performs Somewhere That's Green from Little Shop of Horrors, a song that has taken on a very special meaning in her life. Stay with us.
A matchbox of our own, a fence of real chain link, a grill out on the patio, disposal in the sink, a washer and a dryer, and an ironing machine. In the tract house that we share, somewhere that's green. He rakes and trims the grass. He loves to mow and weed. I cook like Betty Crocker, and I look like Donna Reed. There's plastic on the furniture to keep it in the pine soul scented air, somewhere that's green. Between our frozen dinner and our bedtime, 9:15, we snuggle watching Lucy on our big, enormous 12-inch screen. December bride, his father, he knows best. Our kids watch Howdy Doody as the sun sets in the west. A picture out of Better Homes and Gardens magazine. Far from Skid Row, I dream we'll go somewhere that's green.
And thank you for joining us. We look forward to bringing you more fascinating conversations with the creative talents who live and work only to astonish us. A reminder that we're now airing twice a month on the second and fourth Fridays. Be sure to follow us on social media at Theater Moving Parts for exclusive content and guest announcements. All episodes are available on the CUNY TV app and on YouTube. I'm Patrick Pacheco.